I can still remember the feeling of that envelope in my hand. It wasn't heavy, but somehow, it felt like it was pulling me down. Just holding it made everything around me feel heavier, like the air had suddenly gotten thicker and harder to breathe. I looked up at my mom, Samantha. She stood there with her arms crossed, and that same smirk she always had, the kind that made her look like she had just done something clever. Behind her, my brother Nathan was already halfway down the driveway, starting the engine of his brand new Range Rover. That car was his birthday gift. Actually, it was his second one because the first one had been the wrong color and he didn't like it. And me? I was turning 18 that day. It was supposed to be a big deal, a major moment in life. The day you officially become an adult. I wasn't expecting a party or presents or even a birthday card. I had learned by now not to expect much from my family. But still, deep inside, a small part of me hoped for something. Maybe a kind word. A hug. Some little sign that I mattered, even just a little. But that's not what I got. Instead, my mom handed me a one-way bus ticket to Las Vegas. She said it like it was the best gift ever, like I'd just won a trip to somewhere amazing. "You're legally an adult now," she said. "Time to make your own way." I looked down at the ticket in my hand. The bus was scheduled to leave the next morning. No return ticket. No note. Nothing else. Just that thin piece of paper. My hands started shaking. Not exactly from fear, but from a horrible mix of shame and disbelief. My heart was beating so loud in my ears that I could barely think. I didn't know if I was going to cry or yell or just fall apart completely. But I didn't do any of that. I looked up at her again, slower this time. Her face still had that same cold, proud look. Arms crossed. Lips curved into that smug little smile. She actually looked pleased with herself. Just then, Nathan walked past the front door again and looked right at me. He didn't even try to hide his grin. "Don't look so shocked," he laughed. "At least you got something." I opened my mouth to say something, but nothing came out. What could I even say? That I had been secretly working late nights online just to save a bit of money? That I had applied to community colleges without telling anyone because I knew I couldn't count on them? I wanted to speak. I wanted to say something. Anything, but the words just wouldn't come. So I stood there, silent, holding a bus ticket that felt more like a goodbye than a birthday gift. I always knew they wouldn't be there for me. I grew up having birthdays where no one even remembered it was my special day. So when it happened again, I wasn't surprised. I just nodded. I don't even know why I did that. Maybe it was just habit. Maybe I was scared. Or maybe I didn't want to let them see how much it hurt. I didn't want to give them the joy of watching me fall apart. "Thanks," I said quietly. My voice didn't shake, and that was the only small one I had in that moment. My mom, Samantha, raised her eyebrows like she expected more from me. "You should be grateful," she said. That word, grateful, stuck in my chest like a heavy rock. Was I really supposed to feel thankful? Thankful that they were pushing me out of the house like I was garbage being dumped on the sidewalk? I turned around without saying anything else and walked up the stairs. My legs felt stiff, like they were moving on their own. When I stepped into my room, the one I had lived in since I was little, it didn't feel the same anymore. It looked smaller somehow. Colder. The posters I used to love now looked silly. The bedsheets I picked 3 years ago felt cheap and faded. I sat on the edge of my bed, still holding the bus ticket in my hand. The room was so quiet it was almost too loud. The only sound was the ticking of the small clock on my nightstand. Tick, 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 like it was counting down the seconds until I disappeared from this house, from this life. I stared at the wall for what felt like forever. My mind was racing with thoughts, but I also felt completely numb. Was I mad? Was I hurt? Maybe I was a little bit of everything. Mad, hurt, sad, and tired. Or maybe I had just reached a point where I was done feeling anything at all. Then, in that silence, something inside me changed. It wasn't like a big, dramatic moment. It was more like a quiet thread inside me finally snapping. I realized something important. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to ask them to care. I was going to leave. And they would never see me the same way again. The next morning, I sat on my bed and watched the sun rise through the old cracked blinds in my room, if I could even call it mine anymore. The sunlight came in like soft golden lines across the floor. It was peaceful, which didn't match how I felt inside. I hadn't slept at all. Not even for a minute. My suitcase was packed and waiting by the door. Just the basics, some clothes, my sketchbook, and my journal. I was ready to go. Ready to start a life that was mine alone. I stayed hidden behind my dresser for a while that morning. It was strange how calm I felt. All the sadness I'd carried inside me had burned away during the night, like a fire that had already gone out. What was left behind wasn't pain, it was something clearer. A kind of understanding. I wasn't expecting a big goodbye. No hugs. No, I'll miss you. And I was right, no one even checked to see if I had left yet. I walked down the stairs slowly and quietly. My mom, Samantha, was sitting at the kitchen island, scrolling through her phone and sipping black coffee like it was just another normal day. She didn't even lift her eyes to look at me. "Bus leaves at 11, she muttered without emotion. "I know," I said softly. Still, she didn't look at me. I guess if she did, it would feel too real. Like she'd have to admit I was actually leaving. My dad, Aaron, wasn't there either. He had left early for work, like he always did when things felt tense at home. That was his way of dealing with uncomfortable moments. Just disappear during the hard parts and come back when everything was calm again. I used to hate it, but now I just accepted it. That's who he was. And Nathan? He was outside in the driveway, happily polishing his shiny Range Rover. The same car they had surprised him with 3 years ago. Red leather seats, fancy wheels, everything he wanted. I still remember how they all laughed and cheered that day. Samantha even cried happy tears while filming him rev the engine. I don't think she's ever cried for me. Not when I brought home awards from school. Not when I came home in tears because Nathan had told his friends to make fun of me. Not even when I broke my wrist falling off my bike at 12 years old and had to walk myself to urgent care. Samantha was always good at staying distant. She called it tough love. I called it not being there. Growing up in that house felt like being a ghost, alive, but invisible. I followed the rules. I stayed quiet. I never caused trouble. And still, I felt like I didn't exist to them. Nathan was everything to them. Loud, confident, athletic. He didn't need to ask for attention. He just took it. And they gave it freely, like he was the best thing that ever happened to them. And me? I learned how to stay small, how to read their moods, how to avoid arguments and hide my feelings. But I was never clueless. I saw how Samantha looked at Nathan with pride, like he was proof she'd done something right. And how she looked at me like I was a mistake she still hadn't figured out. I stopped needing their approval a long time ago. Long before my 19th birthday. I had been saving up money from small art jobs I did online. I even opened a secret account. I had already applied for online classes too. I wasn't just leaving. I was starting something of my own. I had already started working on small jobs online, meeting people and building connections. I didn't sit around waiting for someone to rescue me. Deep down, I knew no one was coming to save me. Still, I hoped for something from my family, not love exactly, but at least a little recognition. I wanted them to see me, to know I was there. That I wasn't just someone hiding in the background while Nathan got all the attention. But I didn't get any of that. Instead, I got a bus ticket in silence. So, I left. I didn't shout or slam doors. I didn't give a speech. I just took a deep breath, gave one last look at the house I used to call home, and walked away. When the bus finally pulled off from the curb, something inside me whispered, "It's your turn now." The Greyhound bus smelled like old seats and cheap coffee. I sat by the window, holding my backpack tight against my chest, pretending I was someone else, in a different life. The ticket was crumpled up in my hoodie pocket, but I didn't need to check it. I already knew where I was going, Las Vegas. A city I had never seen. A place where I had no friends, no family, and no real plan. Just a hope that things could be better. I didn't cry. Not on the ride. Not when I saw the city lights. Not even when I stepped off the bus and realized no one was there waiting for me. But that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. There's a quiet kind of pain that comes when you finally accept that your family never really cared to know you. It's not sharp. It doesn't make you scream. It's more like a dull bruise, one you forget about until something touches it again. It would hit me at random moments, like when I saw someone my age getting hugged by their parents or FaceTiming their mom. Sometimes I'd scroll through social media and see happy family pictures and wonder what it felt like to be truly wanted. I found a small room above a bakery to rent. The woman who owned the place, Janet, didn't ask many questions when I paid up front for 2 weeks. I didn't have a lot, but I had just enough, thanks to some freelance design jobs I had landed online. I designed logos, flyers, album covers. It wasn't exciting, but it helped me survive. Then I met Rachel. She was one of my clients. She ran a tech company in Las Vegas. She liked how I worked and once told me I had an old soul. When I emailed her about my situation, she replied within minutes. Meet me tomorrow, 11 a.m. My office, where confidence. So I did. Rachel was nothing like Samantha. She was warm but strong, honest and focused. She didn't baby me, but she saw me. Really saw me. Within a week, I was working part-time on her startup's branding. She even arranged for a driver to pick me up for meetings until I could afford my own ride. It felt unreal, like someone had finally opened a door I had been knocking on my whole life. I had just started to feel safe again when they reached out. Nathan texted me first. Of course, he didn't call. He never did. Dinner Thursday. Everyone's home. You should come. Mom said so. Mom said so. Like that was supposed to mean something after everything. I stared at the message for a long time. My heart wasn't racing because I was scared. It was racing because I was angry. Not because I needed them, but because I knew they still believed I did. Did they really think I'd come running back, desperate for their approval? That I'd show up sad and lost, hoping they'd take me in again? That's when the idea came to me. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to yell or cry or make a big scene. That's not who I am. But I did want them to see me, not to beg for attention, but to remind them exactly what they threw away. I wanted to be like a mirror, showing them the truth they ignored. I opened Rachel's contact in my phone and sent her a message. Do you think your driver could help me make an impression Thursday night? She replied in seconds. Limo or something bold. A smile spread across my face for the first time in days. Both, I texted back. That's when the plan really started to come together. I wouldn't show up for dinner looking like someone who had been cast aside. I would walk in with my head held high, stepping out of a car that didn't shout money, but confidence. Freedom. Power. I wasn't going to look like someone they had sent away with nothing. I was going to look like someone who had found everything on her own. Thursday crept up slowly, like a storm you can feel in your bones even before the sky changes. My stomach was tight as I opened my small closet, looking through the few clothes I had brought with me. None of them felt right. None of them said what I wanted to say. So I went shopping. Not to a big fancy store filled with brand names. I didn't need that. I found a small local boutique, hidden between a flower shop and a bookstore. The owner, a sweet older woman named Christina, welcomed me like I was her own granddaughter visiting from college. I need something for family dinner, I told her. She didn't ask questions. She looked me over and said, You want them to feel what they lost. Exactly, I nodded. We picked out a black jumpsuit. It had a fitted shape and an open back. Simple, bold, and elegant. We added small gold earrings and nude heels, just enough to stand out, without trying too hard. I didn't want to look rich. I wanted to look like someone they couldn't touch. Someone they could never break again. And when I got back to my room, I was ready. I laid everything out on the bed and just stared at it. It was strange how clothes could carry so much meaning. This wasn't just a black jumpsuit. It felt like armor. It wasn't just something to wear. It was a message. On Thursday afternoon, Rachel's driver arrived right on time. The car parked in front of the bakery. It wasn't just any car. It was a sleek, dark gray limo with tinted windows. It wasn't flashy, but it definitely stood out. It looked strong, powerful. Janet, the bakery owner, peeked out from her window and gave me a small nod. I waved back, then stepped into the car. My heart was beating fast in my chest. Inside, the limo smelled like leather mixed with a light floral scent. Soft music played from speakers I couldn't even see. I leaned back in the seat, took a deep breath, and whispered to myself, "You're not going there to prove anything. You're just reminding them of what they lost." As the limo drove through my old neighborhood, everything looked the same: the streets, the houses, even the cracks in the sidewalks. But I didn't feel the same. I didn't sink down in my seat. I didn't practice what to say in my head. I didn't wonder if they would like how I looked. I didn't care anymore. Then I saw the house. White walls. Perfectly trimmed bushes. Nathan's shiny car parked in the same spot in the driveway, still looking brand new. Like it had never moved. I turned to the driver and asked, "Can you give me 5 minutes before opening the door?" He nodded. I looked into the small mirror one last time. My makeup was soft but carefully done. My eyes looked sharper than usual, focused. My lips were painted deep red, curved into a calm, quiet smile. I wasn't scared. I was completely ready. I grabbed my phone and texted Nathan, "Be there in 6. He replied with a thumbs up. Of course he did. That was so like him. I pictured them inside. Samantha, probably complaining that the dinner rolls weren't warm enough. Aaron, sitting in the corner pretending to read something on his phone, avoiding eye contact. Nathan, acting like the center of the universe, like always. I wondered for a second if they had even set a place for me at the table. Too late now. The limo slowed and came to a smooth stop. I heard the soft crunch of gravel under the tires. The air felt different, like something big was about to happen. The driver stepped out, walked around the car, and opened the door. It was time. I took one last deep breath, the kind that makes your back stand tall and helps your heart calm down. Then I stepped out of the limo. And for the first time in my life, they really looked at me. Not a quick glance. Not like I was in the background. They really saw me. Their faces froze. Nathan's smirk disappeared. Samantha's eyes narrowed, like she was trying to figure me out. Aaron's face didn't show much, but he looked unsure. I didn't wave. I didn't smile. I just stood there for a moment. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't shaking. I was calm and steady. And in that moment, I wasn't their daughter. I wasn't the extra in their perfect little family story. I was the surprise they never expected. The one thing they didn't see coming. The front yard went completely silent. Nathan spoke first. "Well, someone's trying hard tonight," he said with a little laugh. His voice had that usual teasing tone, but this time, something felt different. There was a little confusion in his eyes, maybe even a bit of worry. Like, he wasn't sure if he should make fun of me or take me seriously. Samantha stepped closer. She looked me up and down slowly, crossing her arms in front of her like she was getting ready to fight. Her lips were pressed in that tight line I knew too well. That look she always gave me when she disapproved. "You came in a limo?" she asked. Her voice was sharp, almost like she was trying to make fun of me. "Where'd you get the money for that?" I gave a small smile, not too big, not smug. Just enough to let her know I heard her, but wasn't going to give her an answer. Behind her, Aaron stood near the doorway. His eyes moved from person to person, but he didn't say a word. He looked like he was watching a movie, not his own family. "I didn't come to impress you," I said finally. My voice was calm, steady. "I came to show you what you gave up." Nathan made a noise like he was going to laugh, but no one laughed with him. Even he could feel it now. Something was different. We stood there for a moment, me, in heels, standing on their clean driveway. And them, watching like I had grown wings overnight. "Dinner's getting cold," Samantha muttered, turning around toward the house. "Well, if you're coming in, come in." I didn't move. I stayed still, letting her walk inside without me. Nathan followed her, mumbling something I didn't catch. Aaron stood there a second longer, then gave me a small nod. It wasn't much, but it felt like the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get from him. Then he went inside too. I stayed outside for a few more seconds, letting the silence settle around me. I could have left right then, got back into the limo, and disappeared all over again. But I didn't come this far just to make an entrance. I came for something more. I came for closure. So I walked inside. The dining table was set perfectly, just like always. Every plate lined up, napkins folded neatly, a bottle of wine on the table even though Nathan wasn't old enough to drink, and a roast in the center that smelled too good to be homemade. I guessed it was store-bought. Samantha had never been much of a cook. Everyone was already sitting down. No one said a prayer. No one asked how I was doing. Finally, Nathan broke the silence. So, what? You're rich now. I looked straight at him, really looked. For the first time, he didn't look strong or impressive. He looked small, still stuck in that house, still living for their approval like it was the only thing that mattered. He was still smug, but now I could see it was empty. No, I said calmly, but I'm free, and I'm doing better without you. Samantha let out a laugh, sharp and cold. Oh, please. Don't act like we never gave you anything. I tilted my head slightly. You're right. You did give me something valuable. She blinked, confused. What? I leaned forward, resting my elbows gently on the table. A one-way bus ticket. And just like that, the room went quiet again. But this time, the silence was louder, heavier. Because they realized I wasn't there to beg for anything. I wasn't there to brag either. I was there to draw a line. To show them, clearly, that I wasn't the invisible girl anymore. The one who sat quietly at the edge of the table, forgotten. I wasn't the backup child or the disappointment in the family. I was done with all of that. I stood up slowly, brushing off my black jumpsuit like I was dusting off years of being ignored. I don't need this dinner. I don't need this house. And I don't need your love, I said clearly. Then I added, softly but with strength that filled the whole room, I don't need you. The words hung in the air like smoke after a fire.
No one said anything.
Not Samantha. Not Nathan. Not even Aaron. I turned and walked to the door, the sound of my heels clicking on their shiny floor. I stepped back out into the night. The limo driver was already there. He opened the door without saying a word. I slid into the seat as the city lights sparkled outside the tinted windows. Just like that, I was gone. The ride back was quiet, but it wasn't an empty quiet. It felt earned. I leaned my head against the cool window, watching the lights blur into golden streaks as we drove through the city. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running away from something. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I was just at peace. I thought about that dinner.
About how none of them followed me.
About how not a single one of them tried to stop me. And that said everything. When I left, the thing that surprised me most was that it didn't hurt. There was no pain, no lump in my throat. Just a calm feeling inside, like I knew for sure I had made the right choice. They had never really seen me, not who I truly was, and maybe they never would. But now I understood something important. That was their loss, not mine. For years, I had made myself smaller just to fit into a version of me that they wanted, quieter, easier, more pleasing. I thought if I tried hard enough, maybe I could earn their love. Like it was a prize I had to win. But love shouldn't be something you chase. Real love meets you where you are, as you are. I used to think that bus ticket they gave me was the cruelest thing they could have done.
But now?
I see it was the beginning of my real life. That ticket pushed me to start fresh, on my own terms. It helped me find out who I was without their opinions holding me back. I discovered how strong I could be, how capable, how brave, how much I had inside me that they never saw. I don't live above the bakery anymore. A month after that dinner, I got promoted at Rachel's startup. I became the creative lead. With the money I had saved, I moved into a small loft in the city. My own space, my own furniture, my own rules.
And you know what I did?
I framed that bus ticket, the original one to Las Vegas. I hung it near my front door. Every time I leave my apartment, I see it. It reminds me of where everything truly started. Do I talk to my family? Not really. Aaron sent a short message a few weeks later. It just said, "Hope you're doing well." I didn't reply. Nathan once tagged me in an Instagram story. It was some vague quote about family always coming back. I muted him after that. And Samantha? Nothing. Not a word. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I don't hate them. That would mean I'm still giving them a part of me. I've let go. I've stopped waiting for an apology that will never come. I've stopped hoping for closure from people who wouldn't understand what that even means. I gave myself closure. I built my own life, the one I deserve. And if you're reading this and wondering if you'll ever be strong enough to leave behind people who make you feel small, here's the truth. You already are. You don't need their permission to grow. You don't need their approval or their applause. You need you. That bus ticket wasn't a punishment. It was my freedom. And the limo? That wasn't revenge. It was a quiet, full circle moment. Not to say, look at me now, but to finally say, I see myself now. And that's what I needed most. No, I didn't get the car. I got something better. I got me. I got out. I made it. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt like you didn't belong in your own family, like you were never good enough, always compared to others, or completely invisible, please remember, you're not alone. And more importantly, your story doesn't have to end the same way theirs did. Sometimes, the biggest blessings in life come disguised as rejection. Sometimes, when people push us away, they're actually giving us the space we need to grow into who we were always meant to be. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your pain. But you do owe yourself a fresh start. You deserve a life that feels good, not just one that looks good to others. And if you're holding on to your own kind of ticket, whatever that may be, a chance, an idea, a moment of change, just know it could be the thing that sets you free. It could be your way out of the pain, but also your way into something better. Into freedom. Into strength. Into peace. This isn't just my story. It could be yours too. And if it is, I hope you hold on to it, believe in it, and run with it.